Following last season's relegation, it's been a summer of discontent at Hull, and there were more demonstrations yesterday calling for boardroom changes.
A disillusioned David Lloyd, so different from the supposed messiah who arrived on Humberside full of ambition only 16 months ago. But the dream ticket hasn't worked. Lloyd believes he's achieved all he can and has put the club up for sale. He's written off the club debts, but many now fear he could also be writing off 94 years of history.
The way it's going at the moment, the only thing that's going to give is a football club. We just aren't going to have one.
That'll be the end.
That'll be the end of Hull City, which will be a shame. There'll just be memories of Boothferry Park.
Chilton, Wagstaff, and it's a goal, yes. And it's Wagstaff who's done it. His 99th goal for Hull City.
Established in 1904, Hull City at the time of the 1998-99 season were a team of 94 years of history. However, during that season, that history was threatened with coming to an abrupt end. After an embarrassing relegation to the fourth tier of English football in 1996, the club's first and second seasons in the fourth tier since had led to a record low placing of 17th and 22nd in the following two seasons.
Play was held up for 10 minutes in the first half after a pitch invasion by both sets of supporters. Hull and Doncaster fans are less than happy with the way their clubs are being run, but in the end it was the home side who had the last laugh. A.D. Mike scoring the winning goal in the final minute.
Mark Hateley, a former Rangers and AC Milan striker who had been appointed player manager the season prior, was heavily criticised by the fans and looked in all likelihood to be sending the Tigers down to non-league football and potential liquidation. After winning just 17 of his 76 matches as manager, Hateley was relieved of his duties of Hull City manager in November 1998, with the Tigers at the foot of the EFL football pyramid. Hateley was replaced swiftly by then player Warren Joyce. Joyce had a ginormous task on his hands. Could he help steer Hull City away from relegation out of the Football League and potentially save the club? Looking back now in hindsight, we can see the club who would have inevitably be relegated that season, Scarborough FC, cease to exist in the year 2007. It could be said Hull City could have suffered a similar fate had they not pulled off a miraculous turnaround in form. It's worth pointing out that on the 9th of October 1998, just before Hateley's dismissal, Hull City played in a game that was billed at the time as being the club's last. The match ended in a 2-1 defeat at home to Cardiff City.
Cardiff, needing a win to go top for a night at least, also had plenty to play for and started as league form would predict with a goal after 10 minutes for Di Thomas. But Hull, with their biggest crowd of the season behind them, gained a deserved equaliser before half-time through David Brown. It was hardly a night for celebrating, but then this could have been the last night. Regulars in the crowd could have predicted the rest. Another for Thomas to leave the beleaguered Tigers beaten and bottom.
Having never been relegated to non-league football in the club's history, and debts climbing, staying in the fourth tier was an absolute must. An absolutely incredible turn of form in the new year of 1999 meant that the Tigers, against all the odds, would survive the threat of relegation by just 5 points.
City have completed their great escape. Some sections of the crowd are running onto the pitch because they've completed a miraculous recovery. They looked as good as down halfway through the season, but the introduction of Warren Joyce and John McGovern as manager of Hull City has brought new life into this town as a footballing town itself and the club.
The club's history would likely look very different had this feat not have been achieved, and it would likely look a lot more darker for the club, who just 9 years later would be promoted to the Premier League for the first time in history. Looking back in hindsight, the 1998-99 season is undoubtedly one of the most important in the club's history. Despite it technically being the second worst in our history position-wise, it meant we still had a club to support. Had we been relegated that season, that may not have been the case.
That's it. Jumps on his keeper's back. Hull City are in the Premier League, and that is something that no one has ever said before, and anyone's listened. Dean Windas's wonderful, magical goal, the cleanest and purest of strikes, has meant that his boyhood dreams and that of a footballing city have come true here in North London this afternoon.